The annual 4th of July fair had always been a cherished tradition for Ethan and Jake. Best friends since childhood, they had grown up watching the sky light up with fireworks every year, their laughter mingling with the crackle and pop of pyrotechnics. This year, however, the fair was different. It was being held at an old, abandoned field on the outskirts of town, a place whispered about in local legends but never really explored. The organizers, in their quest for novelty, had chosen the spot despite its eerie reputation. The fairgrounds were bustling with life, the air thick with the scent of fried dough and cotton candy. Bright lights twinkled, and the laughter of children filled the night. Ethan and Jake navigated the crowded paths, their eyes wide with excitement. "Man, this place is huge," Jake exclaimed, his voice barely audible over the din. "Yeah, but it feels off, doesn't it?" Ethan replied, shivering as a cold breeze brushed past him despite the summer warmth. They made their way to the Ferris wheel, the tallest structure in the fair. From the top, they hoped to catch a glimpse of the entire layout. As they ascended, the town spread out beneath them like a glittering map, but Ethan's eyes were drawn to a dark forested area at the edge of the field. He squinted, certain he saw figures moving among the trees, but they vanished as quickly as they appeared. "Did you see that?" Ethan asked, nudging Jake. "See what?" Jake was focused on the view, oblivious to the shadows below. "Nothing, I guess," Ethan murmured, though unease gnawed at him. Descending from the Ferris wheel, they decided to explore the lesser-known corners of the fair. They stumbled upon an old, forgotten section that seemed devoid of people. The lights here were dimmer, casting long, eerie shadows. They wandered deeper, finding a collection of old booths and rides that looked like they hadn't been used in decades. "Creepy," Jake muttered. "Why would they set up here?" "Maybe they didn't," Ethan suggested. "Maybe this part of the fair was left behind." A chill ran down their spines as they heard distant, muffled sounds. It wasn't the joyful noise of the fair, but something darker, more sinister. They followed the sounds to a large tent, its entrance flapping in the wind. Inside it was pitch black, the air heavy with a musty, rotten smell. "Hello," Jake called out, his voice echoing in the darkness. A sudden burst of light illuminated the tent, revealing rows of empty chairs facing a stage. On the stage stood a group of figures, their faces obscured by shadows. Ethan and Jake froze as the figures turned toward them, revealing ghostly hollow eyes and tattered uniforms. Who are you?" Ethan stammered. The apparitions remained silent, but their eyes burned with an otherworldly light. One stepped forward, its hand outstretched, and spoke in a voice that seemed to echo from another time. "Welcome to the Eternal Fair," it said. "We've been waiting for you." Panic surged through the boys. They turned to flee, but found the tent's entrance blocked by more ghostly figures. The air grew colder, and the smell of gunpowder and blood filled their nostrils. "These are the soldiers from the old legend," Jake whispered, his voice trembling. "The ones who died in that explosion during the 4th of July celebration years ago." Ethan remembered the story their grandparents had told them, about how a group of soldiers had perished in a freak accident during a long-forgotten celebration. Their spirits, it was said, haunted the town, appearing every year on the anniversary of their death. "We have to get out of here," Ethan said, his voice shaking. They pushed past the apparitions, their cold, spectral hands grasping at their clothes. The boys ran, their hearts pounding, until they burst out of the tent and into the open air. The fair was still bustling with life, but everything seemed distorted, as if viewed through a foggy lens. "We need to find help," Jake said, his eyes darting around. They spotted a security guard and rushed over, but the man looked right through them, as if they weren't there. "What's going on?" Ethan shouted, but no one responded. It was then they realized the truth. They were caught between worlds, trapped in the fair of the dead. The ghostly soldiers were not the only ones lingering. They saw glimpses of other spectral figures, people from different eras all bound to this cursed place. Desperation set in as they tried to interact with the living fairgoers, but their efforts were futile. The more they tried, the more they felt themselves slipping away, their own bodies becoming translucent. "Ethan, what's happening to us?" Jake cried out, fear etched on his face. "I don't know," Ethan replied, his voice barely a whisper. "But we have to keep moving. We can't give up." They continued to explore, hoping to find a way back to the world of the living. They came across an old man sitting by a flickering lantern, his eyes vacant and sorrowful. "Please help us," Ethan begged. The old man looked at them, and for a moment recognition flickered in his eyes. "You're not the first to be trapped here," he said. "But there is a way out. Tell us," Jake pleaded. "What do we have to do?" The old man pointed to the forest at the edge of the fairgrounds. "The soldiers' spirits are bound by their duty. They need closure. Find the place where they died and bring peace to their restless souls." Ethan and Jake exchanged a determined glance. "We'll do it," Ethan said. They made their way to the forest, the shadows deepening around them. The air grew colder, and the sounds of the fair faded into an eerie silence. As they ventured deeper, they saw flashes of light and heard distant echoes of explosions. "This must be the place," Jake said, his voice shaking. They found a clearing marked by a crumbling monument, its inscription barely legible. It was dedicated to the soldiers who had died in the explosion. Ethan and Jake knelt by the monument, their hearts heavy with sorrow. "We're sorry for what happened to you," Ethan said. "We wish we could change it." A soft glow surrounded the clearing, and the ghostly soldiers appeared. Their expressions softer now. One of them stepped forward, the same one who had spoken in the tent. "Thank you," he said. "Your words bring us peace." The soldiers began to fade, their forms dissolving into the night. As the last one vanished, the air grew warm again, and sounds of the fair returned. Ethan and Jake felt a strange sensation, as if they were being pulled back into their bodies. When they opened their eyes, they were lying on the grass near the fairgrounds, the sky above them filled with fireworks. They sat up, dazed but alive. "Did that really happen?" Jake asked, his voice trembling. Ethan nodded, still shaken. "Yeah, it did. But I think we did it. We set them free." They got up and made their way back to the fair. The atmosphere now lighter, the shadows no longer menacing. As they rejoined the crowd, they knew they would never forget this night, the night they encountered the forgotten fireworks and brought peace to the restless souls of the past.